Sure. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihaduri Kunda Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramikacharya, also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Saya Chalana Vatanana Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Thakur ki jai. Friends, say Go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavanam ki jai. Macharanam ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Yamuna ki jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Guru and Gauranga. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharni Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deyachatarni. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 12th chapter, text 25, about the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj, or the qualities that he will exhibit in the future. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Richa Bale Sama Krishna Prarada Iva Sad Graha Akartaisho Ashamedanam Vridanam Pariyupasaka Dritya Sama Krishna Prarada Iva Sadgraha Ahartaisho Shamedanam Vridanam Pariyupasaka Richamani Sakwa Krishna Radha Hiva Sagraha Ahartaisho Shamedanam Vridanam Pariyupasaka Richamani Sama Krishna Radha Iva Satgraha Aharta Shoshamedanam Vidhanam Varyupasaka. Okay. Ladies? Okay. Dhruja, by patience. Bali Sama, like Bali Maharaj. Krishna, unto Lord Sri Krishna. Prarada, Palad Maharaja. Eva, like Sadgraha, devotee of. Aharta, performer. Esha, this child. Ashvamedanam, of Ashvamedha sacrifices. Vidanam, of the old and experienced man. Pariyupasaka, follower. So translation, this child will be like Bali Maharaj in patience, a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlad Maharaj, a performer of many Ashvamedha horse sacrifices, and a follower of the old and experienced men. So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Bali Maharaj, one of the 12 authorities in the devotional service of the Lord. Bali Maharaj is a great authority in devotional service because he sacrificed everything to please the Lord and relinquished, that means gave up, the connection of his so-called spiritual master, who instructed him on the path of risking everything for the service of the Lord. The highest perfection of religious life is to attain to the stage of unqualified devotional service to the Lord without any cause or without being obstructed by any kind of worldly obligation. Bali Maharaj was determined to give up everything for the satisfaction of the Lord, and he did not care for any obstruction whatsoever. He is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, another authority in the devotional service of the Lord. Bali Maharaj and the history of his dealings with Vishnu Vamanadev are described in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapters 11 to 24. Prahlad Maharaj, a perfect devotee of Lord Krishna, Vishnu. His father, Hiranyakashipu, chastised him severely when he was only 5 years old for his becoming an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. He was the first son of Hiranyakashipu, and his mother's name was Yadu. Prahlad Maharaj was an authority in the devotional service of the Lord because he had his father killed by Lord Nrsimhadev, setting the example that even a father should be removed from the path of devotional service if such a father happens to be an obstacle. It's heavy. It's really heavy. It doesn't mean you arrange for your father to be killed. It means you don't have to follow your father. Just, okay? He had 4 sons, and the eldest son, Virochan, is the father of Bali Maharaj mentioned above. The history of Prahlad Maharaj's activities is described in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, that's the end of that, and we'll go back to the verse. Vijabale Samakrishne Pradadaiva Sagraha Ahardasho Shvamedanam Vidanam Varyu Asakaha. So Om Gana Timirandasya Garanjana Shalakya Chakshur Unminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Parikshit Maharaj's qualities are being predicted in relationship with the qualities of great personalities. In fact, that's how we learn to exhibit good qualities. Like it's stated in the Mahabharata, Tarko Pratishta Shutina Vibhina, that you cannot understand Dharma, which means Dharma means your activities, not simply what your business is. Like my Dharma is to work in accounting. It's not Dharma. Dharma means the inseparable quality of a object. Like Prabhupada gave the example, the inseparable quality of water is liquidity. But when it's in an impure state, not impure, but when it's in an unnatural state, then it becomes solid, ice. But in its natural state, it's water, liquid. So you understand? So in our impure, unnatural state, we are conditioned souls, and in our natural state, we are devotees. So right now we're in an unnatural state. This example that Prabhupada gives is actually given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and many other acharyas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives that example in the Jaiva Dharma about the water and liquidity. So the only way, Tarko Pratishta Shuddhina Vivina, no one can really understand the absolute truth of what to do or what not to do by argumentation, logic, understand Tarko, nor by studying the Vedas, Shrutina Vivina, because the Vedas are multi-branched, as Krishna himself says in the Gita. Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrigunya Bhavarjana Nirdwandvo Nirdasatvasto Niryovikshemapavan. Vedas are mainly meant for dealing with people in the modes of nature to gradually elevate. And you see, someone was telling me yesterday how they go to different funerals here and people just reciting mantras from the Vedas. And they don't even know what they're reciting. They don't even know the meaning of the Vedas. Vedas 15:15 in the Gita. They're called Veda Vada Rata. In other words, they're confused by the flowery words of the Vedas. So in other words, you can't understand action, dharma, by argumentation of Vedic literatures. The only way is what Mahajana Gatasa Panta. I mean, how do we know how to act? You hear these instructions in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures. How do you know what to do about it? I mean, if you were to say, well, I should follow Krishna's instruction in the Bhagavad Gita and start killing all my relatives, I mean, that's going to be a little difficult. I mean, how do you, for example, let's say Arjuna. Of course, Arjuna is a perfect example of surrender to the Lord after hearing instructions. But really, how do we take Arjuna's example? It's very difficult because that's in a different age. You understand? So therefore, we have the example of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is our Acharya. We use the word Acharya without understanding the meaning. Achar means speak, to act nicely. Like yad yad acharati shreshtas tat evetaro janaha, that as a great person acts, other people follow. And as a bad person acts, other people follow too. Like Prabhupada was, one time he was preaching to the Beatles. You know the Beatles? Not the Bugs. A music group. He was preaching to this music group, and he was saying, you are all examples or exemplars for the rest of society. What you do, everybody will follow. And so fortunately, Mr. George Harrison, he chanted Hare Krishna. And so many people started chanting Hare Krishna because he did. And so Prabhupada understood this point, the point of example. So the only way we know what it means to be patient, like described here by Bali Maharaj, or staunch. Staunch means you stick to it regardless of any circumstance. Staunch devotee like Prahlad Maharaj is by hearing their stories. If we didn't hear their stories, if we didn't read about Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, what would we understand? For example, Bali Maharaj is the Acharya of Atmani Vedanam, absolute surrender to the Lord. How would we understand what it means? You know, Manasadeha Gehe Yoka Shamora Prilam Tuyapati Nandakashore, my mind, my body, my words, everything is yours. Oh Nandakashore. How would we know? How would we know how to preach unless we had Prabhupada, right? Therefore, it's very important to read these stories and also another story that's very important, Prabhupada's biography. I often say to people that basically it's almost more important to read Prabhupada's bio, which is Prabhupada Lilamrita, and other literatures about Prabhupada, but particularly Prabhupada Lilamrita. I mean, there's other books published with little excerpts of stories, but Lilamrita really brings to home the courage of Prabhupada, just like we hear about the qualities here. Patience, the patience of his divine grace of Prabhupada, and the staunch devotee, staunch, sticking to it in spite of all sorts of challenges. So we read about these things and we become inspired. That's our source of inspiration, everybody's source. So devotees should regularly hear about Prabhupada, from Prabhupada. It's Prabhupada's movement. It's not my movement. It's Prabhupada's movement. Prabhupada is the founder of Acharya. Of course, in addition to Acharya, there's Prachar. Prachar means speaking, instructions. So both those things are essential. Example and instructions. So that's why these different personalities are being cited in the attempt to glorify Parikshit Maharaj. So you can practically picture in your mind, if you just say you should be a staunch devotee, what does that mean? Huh? Staunch devotee. Staunch, you know, staunch in English can sometimes be understood as, you know, being real mean, you know, right? Staunch, he's staunch. You don't know what it means. All right, so let's take Prahlad Maharaj was staunch devotee. What sort of tribulations was he subjected to? And of course, we told that story the other day on Lord Nrsingadev's appearance. He was subject to so many tribulations, and he kept preaching, even to his father. He said to his father that, yeah, Father, what's the best thing that you learned in school? Several things he said. One thing is he said, Dad, you know, those are materially attached, material to Krishna. Can never achieve Krishna. They're always going to be chewing the already chewed. Dad, you're chewing the already chewed. That's really staunch. Bold, like we were talking about the other day. We were talking about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur being the Shinga Guru. Right, bold. Of course, use your intelligence too. Don't smash people. Don't think you can get away with the same thing Prahlad Maharaj did, because you will get in trouble. There was one devotee who went on Sankirtan years ago, a good friend of mine, and all he knew how to preach was to repeat the words of the Bhagavatam, but he didn't have any discretion. So he would go out in Sankirtan and tell people they were like hogs, dogs, and camels and asses. It's a nice verse. Swavidvara hostrakatai, samstuta patashu pashu, nayad karna pato peta, jatu nama karagraja. And that verse is, men who are like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses, praise those who do not listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he didn't get very far with people. So that has to be discretion. But all right, Prahlad Maharaj, I mean, he kept preaching. He told his father, basically head to the woods. What's the best thing you learned? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Oh my God. Why was he able to do that? Why was he able to be so bold and staunch? Because he had firm faith in Krishna. Firm faith, which is, practically speaking, the most important ingredient in becoming Krishna conscious. Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tashaite Patikaryartha Prakashante Mahamala. One who has faith in Guru and the Vedic literature, the spiritual master, everything is revealed to that particular individual. Firm faith. And also Krishna says in the Gita, Shradalada Purusha Dharma Shasha Parantapa Aprapnyamam Nivartate Michu Samsara Varmani. Those who don't have faith, they come back to repeated birth and death in this world. So faith is very important. That's what kept Prahlad Maharaj going. And not only his faith in Krishna, but because he was a staunch devotee, he was always compassionate. He never had any enemies. Even his father wasn't his enemy. He didn't consider it like that. Ajata Shatra Shanta. He prayed for his father. I mean, most of us, if someone attacked us, tried to kill us in so many ways, and then Krishna killed them, we'd be in ecstasy. We'd say, Krishna, send them to Yamaraj. Please, I want to see the person suffer. But Prahlad Maharaj was saying, please forgive my father. I mean, that's a staunch devotee. Staunch means he's only interested in Krishna's pleasure. That's another meaning of staunch. Doesn't give it up. He's fixed. He's nishta. And for us, a staunch devotee means, how do we apply it in our own lives? That means we stick to our sadhana regardless of what other Hiranyakashipus come. And the only Hiranyakashipu we have to deal with generally is our mind. That's our Hiranyakashipu. You take him around with you 24/7. Mind. Like Krishna says in the Gita, the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul, is enemy. Uncontrolled mind is the enemy. So we have to tolerate. So we tolerate, like Prahlad Maharaj tolerated, and remain fixed in our sadhana. Don't get disturbed. Don't get depressed. Don't deviate from your sadhana and your practice and your chanting, which is part of sadhana. So don't deviate. Be like Prahlad Maharaj. He never deviated. Didn't have any doubts. He didn't say, whoa, why is Krishna doing this? I mean, sometimes we see that certain things happen in the movement that are really like, wow, how could it happen? You see some people, like Prabhupada said, the movement's full also of people getting well, but they're sick at the same time. So sometimes you see there'll be some scandal in the movement, right? And then you'll say, oh my God, how can Krishna allow it? Isn't it? How can Krishna allow such a thing? Well, we have our free will, and we can choose. Anyway, so the point is that Krishna will test our faith like that, or Maya will test our faith. And Prahlad Maharaj showed the example of someone, or Maya, or demon testing his faith, and he passed the test. So that means we remain nishta, fixed, regardless of the test. So that's what staunch means. So I'm just applying this to ourselves so we can see how Prahlad Maharaj, it's interesting this is applied to Parikshit Maharaj, but also can be applied to us. We should be. Parikshit Maharaj will be, but we should be staunch devotees. Okay, and then as Bali Maharaj and patience is concerned, that's quite an interesting story. Because Bali Maharaj, as Prabhupada describes here, is a descendant, the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. He was in the demon family. Of course, Prahlad Maharaj was also in the demon family. I mean, his father was Mahademon. Big demon. Mother was all right. She was kind of innocent. But that's a demon family. So by good association with Narada Muni, he became devotee. So anyway, so what happened is that Bali Maharaj was in the demon family, and he was fighting for the demons against the demigods. You may say, but if he's a devotee, why the heck is he doing that? Well, the interesting thing is, the bigger question is, why are there demons? Why doesn't Krishna just make devotees everywhere and have no demons? Well, first of all, the demons are necessary to keep the demigods Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said, without challenges, without opposition, where's the chance of glorious victory? That means that gods will just get into their own sense grab all the time. So it pushes the demigods to pray to Krishna. Like you hear all these stories, like the 10th canto with the demigods, they go to the shore of the ocean of milk with Lord Brahma, and they're going to Lord Vishnu. But otherwise they wouldn't go to Lord Vishnu. Otherwise they would just play with all the apsaras in the heavenly planets, right? I mean, everything's all right. So that's the answer to that is the same answer is why Krishna gives us material miseries. Because if we didn't have any miseries, we wouldn't surrender to Krishna. So Krishna gives us nice miseries. And we find the places where there's less miseries, it's harder to get people to surrender to Krishna. I'm here in Fiji, everything's nice, and people become devotees, but as far as surrendering to Krishna, that's really hard. To make people staunch devotees is really a challenge. I mean, everybody is Jai Guru Dev. Guru Dev, Guru Dev. And Guru Dev says something that says, Jai Guru Dev. Do I have your permission, Guru Dev, to do whatever they want to do? And Guru Dev knows if he doesn't give permission, they won't listen. So he has to give permission. He's like twisting Guru Dev's arm behind his back. Because everything is so nice here. You get papayas and mangoes and daruka, and lanka. There's never been a thin devotee, basically. Some people thin. Some of us is thin here. No, not too much. Oh, Raghunath is thin. Need to eat more prasadam. So anyway, you see sometimes when everything's going so well, yeah, you chant like the demigods, They're Satkama devotees, but isn't it? So, you need some misery. That's why Queen Kunti prays, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru, please send these miseries again and again. So I'll put Nara Bhava Darshanam so I could always remember you. So that's why demons are not. They perform a nice service for the demigods. They keep them Krishna conscious. And many of the demons are Krishna conscious. Just because they're born in a demon family doesn't mean they're demons by mentality. So Bali Maharaj was a devotee, and he was engaged in fighting with the demigods. And the interesting thing is, Prahlad Maharaj was encouraging him to do that. You see that when he was fighting, in the story of the Bhagavatam, it describes that when he was fighting with the demigods, Prahlad Maharaj gave him a victory garland, Vijayanta Mala. It's called, victory garland. So he's encouraging him. It's actually quite interesting, isn't it? You think Prahlad Maharaj, pure devotee. But he understood the Lord's plan. So he was even working for the other side. But Bali Maharaj was a great devotee, and Prahlad Maharaj's son, Virochana, who was the father of Bali Maharaj, was a great devotee. And eventually, Bali Maharaj's son, does everybody know what Bali Maharaj's son's name is? Starts with a B. And he's a test for all of you. Banasura. He actually became a great devotee after he had an armectomy. Because he had like 1,000 arms and they were cut off in level 4. Anyway, so they were all part of the Sura family. It's like saying, what's your family name? Asura. What's your gotra? Asura. Can you imagine that? What's your gotra? Demon. That was their gotra. Just like Prabhupada described, that we're all part of a Chuta gotra. Prabhupada family was Gautama Rishi gotra, actually. Prabhupada gave a very, Gautama Rishi, he's from the gotra of the family of Gautama Rishi. So we're a Chuta gotra. So anyway, so Bali Maharaj was fighting against the demons, and he had, against the devotees, not the devotees, demigods, and he had a guru that he worshipped. It's an important understanding as far as blind following, how we should not even blind follow our guru. So he was following his guru, Shukracharya. He was a pretty good guru. Why was he good? Because Bali Maharaj, in fighting with the demigods, got killed one time. And Guru Maharaj brought him back to life. He's a pretty nice guru, isn't he? And if you die, I can't do anything about it. Isn't that Narada Muni could bring people back to life, Shukracharya could bring people back to life, but me, I'll say, rest in peace, Prabhu. And I'll pray for you and we'll do a little puja for the deities for you. That's all I could do. Pretty useless. Anyways, so what happened is he brought Bali Maharaj back to life, and Bali Maharaj was so dedicated to his guru. This is an interesting story too. More than Indra was dedicated to his guru. You find many instances in the Bhagavatam where Indra shows his disrespect to the guru. Sometimes Indra's sitting there on the throne, everyone's glorifying Indra. And then all of a sudden, his guru walks in and Indra doesn't notice him. Doesn't pay respect. So there's many instances like that. So because of Bali Maharaj's guru Nishta, he became powerful. Even though his guru was not a pure devotee. That's interesting. But his guru was a devotee of some sort, not pure devotee, because he was telling Bali Maharaj worship Vishnu, but for the wrong reason. Do some Satyanarayan Katha, basically. He was telling him. So you worship Vishnu. So he was worshiping Vishnu. And then we know that Aditi became upset that her sons had been taken out of the heavenly kingdom. Actually, the demigods left the heavenly kingdom without a fight. Why did they leave? Because their guru, Brahaspati, told them, you should leave the heavenly kingdom because Bali Maharaj is more dedicated to his guru than you are to me. Interesting story about Guru Nishta. And so then what happened is that Aditi, the mother of the demigods, got upset because her poor kids had been kicked out of their home. And Bali Maharaj had taken over the home. So Aditi went to her husband, and her husband said, Kashyapa, of course. Her husband, she's the mother of demigods. Her husband said you should perform this payovrata, which means just living by drinking milk, something like that. And as a result, she got Lord Vamanadev as her son. And Lord Vamanadev comes to the sacrifice. Of course, he's also blessed by all the demigods too, and given an umbrella, everything. So he goes to the sacrifice of Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj stops the sacrifice because Bali Maharaj observes Vedic etiquette. You know, there's a Brahmin coming and guests coming, you can stop deity worship, you can stop a sacrifice. And so he says, oh, my dear Brahmin, and what you usually do with a Brahmin is you ask him what he would like, not what you would like to do for him. Like, Guru Maharaj, here's what I'd like to do for you. Like Prabhupada said, the only instruction he asked his guru was, what can I do for you? Or how can I serve you? And Prabhupada told him to go to the Western world and preach Krishna consciousness. So, Bali Maharaj says to the Lord Vamanadev, what can I do for you? What do you want? And Bali Maharaj basically says, I just want 3 steps of land. And, Vamanadev says that. And Bali Maharaj says, that's pretty stupid. You can have anything. I can give you a kingdom, I can give you a planet, I can give you, because he's in charge of the whole universe. I can give you a nice wife, anything. And Lord Vamanadev says, if one isn't satisfied, it's an important instruction related to this, patience. If one isn't satisfied by 3 steps of land, one will never be satisfied by anything, even if he gets the whole universe. That's another thing, tushti, to be satisfied. Tushanti cha ramanti cha, right? Machata magata prana, everyone knows that verse? No? It's one of the 4 nutshell verses in the Gita. Machata magata prana, bodhyantas cha parasparam, katyantas cha manlicham, tushanti cha ramanti cha. Anyone know it? Uh-oh. The devotees are all machata magata prana, bodhyantas cha paras. They're always talking to, and they're always satisfied. Tushanti cha, ramanti cha. They're always satisfied. Tushti. You know the same word in Hindi? Tushti? Santushti. Santushti, yeah, which is basically Sanskrit. Santushti would be the same thing. Tushanti cha, and ramanti means joy. My devotees are always gathering together in Tushanti cha, ramanti cha. That, everyone should learn that verse too. So, anyway, so basically, Vamanadev says this, and Bali Maharaj says, all right, I'm going to give you 3 steps of land, if that's all you want. And he gets ready to signify that by pouring some water from this kamandalu. And his guru says, stop! And he says, no, Guru Maharaj. Because one time you can disobey the order of the guru if he disobeys Krishna's order. And he said, I made a promise, and he's God. And his guru says, using philosophy, his Guru Maharaj says that you don't have to keep promises when you're joking. Also, he says you don't have to keep promises when you're talking to ladies, but we don't agree with that. This is not Shastra. This is just like a demon guru talking. And you don't have to keep promises when you're joking or protecting a life or anything like that. But these cases don't apply. So Bali Maharaj says, no, we're going to give it to him. And then his guru not only tells him not to do it, and he's going to do it, but his guru tries to stop him from pouring the water from the kamandalu. His guru makes himself very small. And he enters into the spout of the Kamandalu and tries to plug it up. And Lord Vamanadeva, he just takes a blade of kushagrash and pokes the Guru's eye out. Poor Guru Maharaj. That's the punishment for being a bogus guru. And so, at that point, Shukracharya hated the Lord for forever and ever, basically, because he made him blind in one eye. So, and you see, sometimes you see these pictures of Shukracharya, he's like blind in one eye. And so, that's also interesting because also in the Vedic system, it's considered if you look at someone with one eye, that's the evil eye. Sometimes people think like that. You know, it's a superstition in India that if you go like that, it's the evil eye. I'm teaching you how to do the evil eye. So anyway, but Bali Maharaj just remains determined, and he gives the 3 steps of land, as you know, and there's no way to put the 3rd step. So Garuda arrests him with the ropes of Karuna, and they get ready to punish him. And Lord Vamanadeva says, "Where am I going to put my 3rd step?" He says, "You can put it on my head." That's patience, isn't it? The Lord takes everything away from you, and you still love him. Everything, he ties you up. You know, imagine you're being tied up and threatened to be sent to hell or something like that. And you say, you can put your 3rd foot on my, and you can put your 3rd step on my head. That's patience. And also in compassionate devotee, how do we apply that to ourselves? That if someone doesn't appreciate, someone attacks us, we always remain compassionate towards them. And if Krishna puts us in different circumstances, we always remain faithful to Krishna. So these are qualities we can apply to ourselves. And finally, the last quality I want to mention was follower of old and experienced men. Of course, I'm pretty old. So what that means is that Prahlad Maharaj was Bali Maharaj was a follower of Prahlad Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj would be accepting instructions from the older persons, the experienced persons in society, not like many demons did, like Aurangzeb. You heard of Aurangzeb in India? He not only did not follow his father, but he arrested his father, put him in jail. His father's name was Shah Jahan. You know the story? He took over the Taj Mahal. So don't be like that. Be respectful to your father, respectful to old people, according to Krishna and the Gita. It's one of the austerities of the body, to offer one's respects to one's superiors. Anyway, so these are qualities that we need to apply to ourselves, not just Parikshit Maharaj. You want to be a devotee? Then you should learn how to apply these qualities using your intelligence, and that will please Krishna. So, any questions or comments? Yes?
Why do I want to surrender to Krishna even though I know the real nature of the soul?
Why? You know the real nature, but you haven't realized it. And you also still want to be the center. After all these years and all these lifetimes and chanting Hare Krishna, you still want to be the center of your own Krishna consciousness. Ishwaroham aham bodhi siddhoham balavan sukhi. Everybody wants to be Ishwara in this world. You know, at least Ishwara, just like even these dogs that we drive by on the road. They get angry with us because it's their road. Isn't it? When I walk in the morning, I have to avoid going too close because they'll get angry with me. It's my road. And every time we drive by, they try to bite our tires. So you are not properly understanding that Ishvashamidam Sarvama Yakincha Jagajam Jagat Tenajaktena Vunjada Margaretha Kasasvidana. Everything is owned and controlled by Krishna. Krishna owns your body. Krishna is the proprietor of everything, and everything is meant to be used for Krishna, not for your pleasure. Don't be like the demigods. The demigods are basically Sakama devotees. They want to use Krishna consciousness for their own pleasure. And so the Bali Maharaj is not. He's a Nishkam devotee. So we should be, somehow or other, it'll take time, don't worry. Just give yourself a few million lifetimes and eventually you'll understand. Mohanam Janmanamante Gyanamamam Prabhajate Vasudeva Sarvaneti Sa Mahatma Sudurlava. No, I remember in the early days I was traveling. I wasn't a sannyasi in the beginning, as a brahmachari, traveling with a sannyasi. And we were following Prabhupada everywhere. So we were trying to enjoy Prabhupada. You know, we were following him. I remember we flew to New York to see Prabhupada, and then just to see Prabhupada, we flew back to Los Angeles. You know, which is a long trip. It's 6 hours on an airplane. And Prabhupada said, looking at us, don't you understand? You're not supposed to enjoy the spiritual master. You're supposed to serve the spiritual master. And when Prabhupada said that, it was heavy. So we immediately packed our bags. Left Prabhupada, went off to preach. You understand? You told him that story? You're not supposed to enjoy the Guru. You know, so, I mean, it's obviously, I listen to Prabhupada, it's very enjoyable, but the point is I'm supposed to learn, not simply enjoy Prabhupada. And the Guru becomes like your pet at that point. My pet Guru. Your dog or something. So I think I hear the ringing of the bell. I think we have to end. All glory is to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shishi Gornatai ki jai. Shishi Gornatai ki jai.
Rolling down Adi Pusham. Aham bhajami, Govindam, Adi Pusham, bhajami, Govindam, Adi Pusham, Aham bhajami, Enam Ganandam. Buddha Sundaram Kanna Pato Kamaniya Vishesha Survam. Jai Shri Shri Radhagalok Bihari. Radhagalok Bihari ki jai. Gajami Govinda Hari Krishna Gami
Sakalandriyatri Kimanti Asyanti Panti Karanti Namayanti Anganat Saru Balarasya Jai Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman. Vipusham Ahamayami Vindam Haripusham Ahamayami Vindam Pusham Aham Bhajami Govinda.
We leave 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock is 8.
Govinda Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Hari Purusham